It's the end of the month, the new year excitement is fading, and it's time to get real. We need to talk about our all or nothing, black or white mentality and why it's holding you back big time. So first, let's just identify it because I think a lot of us have it and don't even realize we have this mindset. So it's a cognitive distortion that can lead to anxiety and depression, and it can be a huge reason for why you don't reach your goals, why you procrastinate, and why you continually put yourself down and your abilities down. It is the belief or the assumption that there are only two possible options, so that there is no possible gray area, no middle ground, and no possibility of a spectrum of options. But there's always a gray area. There's rarely anything in life that's ever truly black or white. There's always a spectrum. Here's an example I see a few weeks into every single challenge I host. It doesn't fail. I'll get an email from a girl and she's in despair because she's been following the plan perfectly for 2 weeks straight, and fill in the blank event happens, which forces her to skip maybe 3 days from the plan. She views this as a complete failure. She loses momentum and doesn't finish out the week. So at this point, she's writing me because she wants to know from me what I think she should do out of the two following options. Should she start the plan all over again when fill in the blank again, which is really code for whenever she thinks the conditions will be perfect for her to do it perfectly? Or should she just sit this one out completely and join the next challenge? And she's usually so paralyzed and disheartened by this that she doesn't even consider that just picking up where she left off is also an option, and likely the best option. But instead, she thinks that there couldn't possibly be a gray area. It must be that either she needs to start all over again because the last time was a failure, so I'm done with that. We got to move on. Or that the conditions aren't perfect, I can't do this plan doesn't work for me, or whatever excuse we come up with in our heads to rationalize why we weren't able to be perfect. This kind of mentality is derailing your progress. It doesn't serve you. And if you allow it to continue, it will lead to a whole lot of disappointment with starting and never finishing things in all areas of your life. It always starts with great intent, a hope for ambitious outcomes and tons of motivation to accomplish. So you go all in, which is great, but the problem is you set that standard of going all in as the only measure of success. So the minute things don't go that way, you view it as an automatic failure. Here's another example I came across just yesterday. So this young lady is just getting started with fitness. She's using my app, she's loving it, and she's super motivated to improve her body composition. So we were chatting and I found out that she's doing 2 workouts per day. So she's doubling up on the workouts. And on top of that, she's also dieting and she's writing to find out about supplements because she's ready to go all in on supplements too. This is so common. You want to speed up the results, so you do all these extreme things to try to get you there. But how long do you think somebody can truly sustain that kind of intensity? Not long, right? It's just too much all at once to maintain over time. So if we have this kind of mentality, how can we create healthier, more balanced thought patterns that will serve us over time? First of all, I think we should work towards setting action-based goals instead of results or outcome-based goals. When we put all the emphasis on the outcome, especially when the outcome is something that will likely take a while, like with fitness, it's very easy to get discouraged to continue taking action when the initial motivation has worn off, but we still don't have the result we're looking for. When all we're focused on is getting the result, we tend to constantly evaluate any effort on whether it's good enough to produce the results we're after. And when you have that all or nothing mentality, you assume the only way you'll achieve that outcome is through perfect action. So you think, Why bother at all if I'm not going to do it perfectly? And if you don't do it perfectly, then you just abandon it altogether because you considered it already a failure. Like you already failed, so why bother? So instead of setting a goal to lose 20 pounds and have visible abs by spring, set a goal to work out 5 times per week. And so every time you do work out, you've made progress on that goal. And it's not impossible because there's 7 days in a week. So if you skip a day, you still have the opportunity to reach your goal that week. It's doable. It's not impossible. You also need to know that you will have off days. You will. You're not going to feel 100% all the time. So you need to get comfortable and in the habit of just picking up where you left off. Stop starting over again on Monday. Stop starting over again next month or in the new year. This kind of thinking is a very interesting form of self-sabotage that we adopt to protect ourselves from the pain and the fear of failure. So we think, well, if I'm not going to do this perfectly, then I'm not going to do it at all until I'm ready to do this right. We think like this because we're so afraid of wasting any effort on something that may not produce the results we want. And we're afraid to show the world that we are making an effort on something we may not achieve. I think we're so afraid of the shame we might feel if others know we tried but still failed. So it doesn't count if I'm not trying. So I quit and I'll just start again next month. These are the little games we play in our heads to protect ourselves because it's much easier to quit than to potentially have to come to terms with the fact that we made an effort and still didn't reach our goal within our unrealistic expectations. But logically, this is not going to help you reach your goal. The only thing that matters is consistency, not perfection. You have to accept that nothing will ever be perfect and just train yourself to continually just pick up where you left off. So you don't need to start over when you feel like you messed up because you didn't mess up. You learn to expect bad days. You expect things to happen. Life happens. And you just learn to just pick up where you left off and just keep going. And this might be a little easier said than done. It comes with time. But you gotta learn to love yourself enough to give yourself some grace. Because I guarantee the people you look up to because they've achieved the goal you're after are not perfect 100% of the time. And you don't have to be either. You just have to try your best and give yourself some grace when you have an off day. But that's not an excuse to slack off either. Because remember, there's always a spectrum. So there's also those people on the opposite side of the spectrum who think anything is a good enough excuse to slack off and not take action on the things they should be doing, right? A good way to know whether you need to give yourself a little grace or just suck it up and do what you need to do is to take note of the times where you catch yourself negotiating with yourself. Because there's a big difference between a day where things just keep coming up, you have emergencies, and you're just go all day. You have not 1 second to breathe, let alone make it to the gym by the end of the day. And those days where you get home from work and you're just sitting around contemplating and counting all your excuses on why you should skip the gym, you need to go to the gym, right? Learn to look for that. So, ladies, I know you started the year or maybe even my programs off with tons of motivation based on your ideal body goals and you went all in, and that's great. But keep in mind as the time passes, as the motivation starts to fade, as life happens and things get hard, that the all or nothing mentality does you no good. It's not going to help you reach your goals any faster. So if you catch yourself feeling like a failure and like you need to start over again on Monday, maybe it's time to start working on those thought patterns by setting some action-based goals, just picking up where you left off, giving yourself a little grace when things aren't perfect because they won't be, and just take action. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to work towards consistency. That's all.